Hi everyone, welcome. This is Ava from Soul GPS. Today we have episode 8 of our series of how manipulators use words in order to dominate us, to intimidate us, to abuse us. And actually in this episode, words are a little bit in quotation marks because we're going to talk about silent treatment and the often accompanying predatory, narcissistic stare. So still, even though we're talking about silence, this form of abuse is considered verbal abuse, even though it contains no words. So what is this? And what is the goal? Why are they doing that? Well, from my own experience and research, as well as my work with clients, what I've come to conclude is that it's basically meant to intimidate, is meant to scare you into submission, to doing something maybe you didn't want to do. It's definitely a form of punishment. And sometimes, and I think that's where it gets really bad, is we tend to apologize for something we haven't done. So it can have very traumatizing, very torturous effects, and can go on from hours, sometimes to weeks in some cases. So it's a very painful form of abuse. We take the blame, we give into their whims and so on. And it can happen when they don't get what they want. Say, they want you to buy them something, or they want sex, or they want, they want to have a complete free hand, let's say, to flirt with whoever they want in your presence. And you have a problem with that, or you begin to question them, or you don't give in to their other manipulative form of control, such as, for instance, arguing with you. That was one of the most common cases I have experienced in my last relationship with the narcissist, and it was he would provoke fights. And I am generally a very non-confrontational person, so it's very difficult to make me get angry. So what I would then do is kind of ignore it, but I would kind of withdraw, starting to think like, okay, well, what's going on? Why is he doing that? What's the point? I would feel hurt too. I would withdraw and myself become quiet because I was processing the pain that I suddenly felt in my body. And that's how you know why somebody is doing something, whether it's to punish you or whether it is to for something else. And I'll get into something that I wanted to get clear about, why some people may do quote unquote silent treatment, not really silent treatment, but a form of withdrawal in order to process something, which is not meant to be a form of punishment. So, but yeah, that's what he would do, is he would just provoke and provoke and provoke, or start talking about something that he knew would aggravate me. And then, because I wasn't responding, he would go completely silent. And then it would be like these long moments of silence going on and on and on and on. And I would try to start up a conversation, maybe change the subject, maybe, talk about something pragmatic, practical. And I would get those, sort of one-word, half-assed answers, like whatever, it's like a child. It's like they become like a child. They devolve emotionally in that moment. And then we become kind of like a parent. And what was really funny in those cases, actually, I recall, is that there would be a parentification that would actually kick in after the silent treatment or during the silent treatment, where anything that he would say would be in order to devalue me or to criticize me, kind of like, now I'm this kid who doesn't know what she's doing, like for example, be careful how you're driving because you're gonna run over a cat, or it was to that degree. And then would go back to being quiet, and giving me that cold shoulder. So, it's a passive aggressive form of control, essentially. Very demoralizing. It's very punishing. It's torturous. Sometimes we don't even know why they're doing it. And I think that's when it's really damaging, because we can't even resolve a conflict here because we don't know what we're doing. So it makes us go around in circles in our own heads about, what is that we did to have caused it. So we end up obsessing about it. So I think it could be a form of punishment meant to train you in some way, don't question them, don't raise certain issues, engage with them when they want you to. Don't ask for too much. It can take a variety of forms and agendas. But the end result is they basically turn very cold and unresponsive, and you're breaking your neck trying to figure out what is going on. So it causes severe separation anxiety that just mounts. It can cause jealousy because, say, for instance, they're giving you the silent treatment, but they're fully engaging in a conversation with somebody else, and then they return back to you and they're giving that to you again. It can lead to tremendous depression and severe states of unworthiness. And if, as I mentioned in my previous videos in this series, if you already are suffering from some degree of feeling unworthy, this is only going to aggravate and make it worse. And also, as I mentioned earlier, one of the worst things that we can do, especially if we don't know why they're treating us this way, is we can start apologizing for something we haven't done. So why do they do this? Here's another reason why they're doing it. It could be because they're trying to buy their time to plan their next move. And it could be, garnering new forms of supply. It could be, they might already have several affairs in the works. It could be that they're being aggravated by somebody else who's questioning them and they're laying it on you. So it could be a form of escape for them too, to not have to deal with you, so that they can, continue plotting, scheming, and doing their thing. So, one side note I really want to mention here is that there is a form of silent treatment that some people who have severe CPTSD can do. CPTSD stands for complex post-traumatic stress disorder, where, we get triggered by something that happened that's happening in the present that makes us flash back to something that happened in the past. And so these emotions suddenly flood and become incredibly overwhelming. So it can happen if you've been in a relationship with somebody who's been using that in order to abuse you, or doing something very abusive, or could be a flashback from childhood or something, anything that causes you severe anxiety and dissociation from the present moment, where you're no longer engaged with what's happening, but instead you are drowning in an emotional reaction. It's happened to me several times within the period from when I ran away from my last ex until now, until today. And it's happened that I would be triggered by something and then be really flooded by all of these emotions, wondering whether what's happening here and now is another form of abuse, or whether it is just something that's, that's a flashback. And because of the amount of research that I have done in the last couple of years, I was pretty aware that I was having a flashback in that moment. So because I didn't want to overwhelm the person in whose company I was at the time, I would withdraw, and then my words would become very muted. I would become very quiet. And I found that the only thing that works so that the person you're with doesn't get triggered or feels like they just did something terrible is to openly communicate about it, is to just say, I'm having an emotional reaction. I just got triggered by X, Y, and Z. Know that this has nothing to do with you. I am just experiencing something that I just need to deal with. And during those times, one of the best things you can do is it's a combination of boundaries and asking for your needs, for what you need. And you got to be very explicit, because if you're having that reaction in the vicinity of other people, they can't really read your mind and understand what's going on unless you tell them. And it takes tremendous amount of courage to do that, because it can be really difficult. So if you've been there, just know that I get it. I've been there too, and it's really hard. But that's how you build your emotional muscles, your emotional intelligence, your communication. It's a great opportunity to practice. So what you want to do then is to basically say, this has nothing to do with you. I'm just dealing with something, and now I need some space. I need a few hours on my own, or I need to take a walk and process this, or cry it out. Whatever, let it wash over you rather than trying to squash it, because I know it might get even worse. And And also ask for affection, ask, I need a hug right now. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with asking for that, And so just, figure out what it is that you need and honor that. That is the point I'm trying to make here. So that will happen. If you're just coming out of one of those relationships when all of these tactics that I have mentioned in this series, and I have a couple more episodes after this to add to it. And of course, there's a plethora of other manipulative tactics that are being used. But if you've been through this, then know that there will be a period of time, year, 2, 3, maybe there will always be some form of a behavior thing that will trigger you. And that is okay. I want you to know that life without triggers, I don't think it exists, because the way our minds operate is our subconscious mind gets layered with memories and emotions that are associated with those memories. And the stronger the emotion, the stronger the memory. And the stronger the likelihood that the memory is also slightly skewed, because trauma fragments the way fragments reality, fragments perception. So when we think about something that happened to us in the past, we might not recall it exactly as it happened, but rather it's the memory gets skewed by the emotion, if that makes sense. So now I want to just take a moment and mention the stare, the psychopathic, sociopathic, narcissistic stare. And there are a variety of stares. And what links them all together is that there's a predatory agenda behind them, a desire for dominance, and a certain vacancy or vacuousness in the eyes. So those are the 3 elements I'd like you to remember from what I'm about to tell you is vacancy, agenda, and dominance. So there's got to be a combination of those. So for instance, starting with the coldest stare that a sociopath or a psychopath would give to you, they have very shallow affect, emotionality. They don't feel the way that we do. They process emotions very differently. There's an interesting theory, is it neurogenetic? I need to read up more about it before I present it, but the idea is that there is some kind of a malfunctioning in the midbrain, the emotional brain. We have 3 brains. We have the stem, the reptilian brain, which is all instinctual, fight or flight, survival. Then we have the emotional, in which we have a vast array of emotions, and when we can decide, what it is that we're feeling, and we can tune into that. And advanced form of mastery of that brain domain is being able to actually control your emotions and evoke your emotions with your thoughts and put yourself in different states and so on. And then we have the 3rd layer, the newest layer of the brain, which is the brain that thinks. It's the cortex, purely rational, logical, and so on. So we're dealing with these 3 layers. And in psychopaths and sociopaths, apparently there's a malfunctioning in the midbrain, which makes them very predatory. So they're very much connected with the reptilian, intense kind of survival instinct and pure logic. It bypasses the middle where empathy evolves, where empathy, I feel like, is the combination of a really sound connection, bridge between the midbrain and the cortex. And again, different conversation. We can go there some other time, but. So when you get the predatory stare, just know there's a pure calculation going on. Okay, what can I do to outsmart this person, to dominate them, to take advantage of them in whatever way? It's the kind of killer gaze, and the emotion that it carries behind it is predatory. So it's like a predator sizing up the prey. It's kind of licking his chops, looking at you like, like a vampire. And it can be very interesting to people, I think, who are empathic, because to us it's kind of like, what is that? It can be alluring, it can be intriguing. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm very curious, and oftentimes curiosity has led me really the wrong alleys. So in this case, when I get that cold gaze, that vacuous gaze, these days I just look away and I go my own way. Luckily, I haven't seen too many of those. But sometimes, you can spot these people even when you're walking down a busy street. Somebody can look at you and it's like, whoa, they just completely, they can just undress you with their eyes, right? So for narcissists, we have this extra layer of sweetness, syrupy, something meant to lure you in, right? There's this appeal, and it's fake, I mentioned that again in some of my other videos, that I've talked to some narcissists in my past who have actually admitted to the fact that they have learned certain things from movies, you know, so they could be, there's this layer of fakeness. Narcissistic girls, you know, could be giving you the pout, the duck lips, you know, and this kind of a come hither type, alluring, seductive type gaze. It's anything but authentic and spontaneous or purely expressive. So it has that, you'll see that there's a level of fakeness and ingenuity in that. I mean, lack of being genuine. I don't think that's ingenuity. I think that's a different word. But my words have been mixing up so much now that I'm doing things in two languages. It's like I forget Polish words, I forget English words. They all mix up. But I'm glad you're sticking with me here. So anyway, so for narcissists, we have that extra glaze, and can be quite hypnotic too. So what else? Or you can get this other one. I've gotten that one so much, and it's these days it's like it really gets on my nerves. Is you're talking to them about something, and it's deep and it's important, and instead of them listening to you, they're just doing this, you know, like they're love bombing you with their eyes, and they're not listening to what you said. And then you can say, "Did you hear what I just said?" And it's be like, "What? Sorry, I was getting lost in your eyes." You know, they can be doing that. It's really annoying. What else? Or they can have the glare with snake eyes. So, you know, this when there's a layer of malice there, especially during arguments, during rage, can see that. Or if it gets to that really heated up moment that I would experience after silent treatment with my ex, when, you know, eventually that's where it would culminate. It would be silent treatment, then it would be, you know, trying to work things out. So argument would get heated and heated and heated up. My logic wouldn't work. It would only aggravate them more. And then they would just, you know, bloodshot eyes. And we're talking about this kind of demonic transformation that some people write about, especially in this video I shot a while back. You can look it up. It's called, "Is the Narcissist Possessed?" Because some people say literally that it's like this person got possessed. I think it's more that they get so deeply in touch with that reptilian, that survival part of their brain, that it bypasses everything, and it just, you know, it's pure survival. So that's what you're experiencing. Although, you know, there could be a spiritual element of something else going on. I just don't know enough about it. But if, you know, if you're getting a bad hint, if you're a recipient of that, it's enough said. You know, you're dealing with something really awful and sinister. So whatever it is, this stare, which oftentimes can accompany the silent treatment and a variety of other manipulations, is not genuine. It's meant to cover something up that they're thinking, scheming, and so on. So it's like a layer. There's a glaze there. There is a separation. There's like a wall between what's really going on and how they're showing up. So you feel like you can't quite get to them, even though they make it seem like you can. They can find just the right words to say. They can find just the right combination of looking at you in order to, you know, it gets hypnotic. We're looking at now also, you know, anchoring that form of hypnosis that I mentioned in another video, I think video number 6 or 5. You can check that out, or 4, I forgot. But it's in one of those. And so it's not genuine. They're skimming. They're in full reaction mode, and the whole idea here is to dominate you one way or another. So the purpose is to catch you in their net, you know, and take you where they want you to go, you know, to make you abandon your own stance wherever you are in your mind, rooted within yourself. They want to imbalance you so that you follow whatever it is that they're, you know, they have cooked up for you. And narcissists can be much more reactive, even sloppy with this. Like, I think they can be it can be easier to see through this, whereas with psychopaths, sociopaths, they can be so calculating that one of the best things you can do to recognize this is you're feeling really cold and you feel that vacancy. With narcissists, there's almost like a desperation. And especially with the covert ones, you can recognize it by them wanting you to feel guilt and pity for them. So follow your emotions, follow your instincts, follow your own intuition. If your body is screaming, "I don't feel good here," it's your time to exit. All right, I'm going to wrap up here. Hopefully this was helpful. I invite you to video number 9, where we're going to go deeper into making direct threats And yeah, share your experiences below. I love the community that is forming down here. And you know, when people are sharing their stories, and I see other viewers coming into rescue and supporting them, I love that you're supporting each other. It really makes me want to do even more of what I do. So it's beautiful. I want to thank you for that. And if you're new to here, click that subscribe button. There'll be more videos coming in helping you to regain your sense of self-worth, self-esteem after years of abuse. So I send you guys all my love. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.